and welcome to the Football News Zone. It's January, which means the transfer window is open again. But which stories from the beautiful game have been catching our attention this week? This week we react to West Ham United sacking Julen Lopetegui and hiring Graham Potter and why we think that is a big upgrade. We ask whether Ange Postecoglou was correct to say whether football is changing too quickly in the modern era. And we also cover why Paul Scholes' criticism of Manchester United part owners INEOS and Sir Jim Ratcliffe is a very fair assessment. All that and a whole lot more is coming up in today's show. Let's dive in. Alright guys, got some big breaking news here that we already knew was coming, to be honest with you. Graham Potter going to West Ham United as the replacement for Lopetegui. Lopetegui, of course, was sacked yesterday from his now former position at the club. Potter has joined West Ham. He most recently managed Chelsea. Nearly 2 years ago, he was sacked by Chelsea. He's been out of management for some time now, and I think it's done him some good. You know, he seems like he's doing a lot better. He seems a lot more well than he was when he was managing Chelsea. Of course, he looked like a bit of a defeated man, really, at Chelsea with all the pressure that was on him, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, I think this is a good appointment. Potter's obviously been waiting to, you know, make sure he makes the right move, to a club that he can really succeed at. And I feel like this is the kind of club he can do really well at. Obviously, he tried it at Chelsea. I mean, Chelsea, a lot of, frankly, you know, more experienced managers have really struggled at Chelsea. Mauricio Pochettino comes to mind as well. I say struggled. I think he did a good job, to be honest, but he was still sacked at the end of the day. And yeah, I think this is a good move for both the club and for Potter as well. There's no real risk of relegation. I don't see them going down, so he'll have time to, you know, install his beliefs and tactical kind of play on the squad. And I think you can really suit the squad as well. I mean, anything would suit it more than what Lopetegui was doing. Lopetegui was doing a terrible job, in my opinion. It just didn't work out for him. I think he's a good manager, but for whatever reason, that club just did not work for him. When it comes to Potter, though, of course, he'd managed Östersunds over in Sweden many moons ago, did incredible with them. Brighton as well did incredible with them in the Premier League too. Really announced them as a real disruptor in the league, someone who could really upset that top six, and something they continue to do pretty much every season since then, really. Yeah, I've got faith this will be a good move for them. There'll be pressure on him, of course, and he faces a very difficult test at the weekend, the FA Cup third round. The West Ham's last chance to win a trophy. I mean, you don't expect West Ham to win trophies, but they are a side that won one a couple seasons ago, so we'll see how they get on. They obviously want to get back into Europe, but they won't be expecting that this season. If they are, they're being unrealistic, because the gap between them and the probable, you know, European places is just too high, really. Potter has also said that this move just feels right. So I think he has been, he's had plenty of offers. He's probably on the shortlist for the England job, and this one just felt like the right kind of move, because it's not too high pressure. It's not a bad club. It's a club that can really succeed and progress up the table. He's coming in at West Ham's kind of worst hour, really, at the moment in terms of their form over the last 10 years or so. And yeah, I think he'll do well. I think it's a good appointment. But Hammers fans, are you happy? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, this is a 2.5-year deal, so it will take him up until the end of the 2026-27 season this will be. So yeah, so it was a good night last night for Tottenham Hotspur. They managed to get a 1-0 victory against Liverpool in the first leg of their Carabao Cup semi-final clash. But their manager Ange Postecoglou gave a really interesting interview to Sky Sports before the game, and there were some interesting quotes that, you know, that's been coming out of Ange. I mean, he's good for them, in fairness. He's very philosophical, really, and say what you want about the results so far at Tottenham, he's definitely got a philosophy, and he definitely wants to stick to it. He's absolutely married to it, and that's part of why he's been so successful as a manager. Whether that'll happen at Spurs as well, how long he'll last there, is another question, of course, but for what it's worth, I do like the guy. More as a person than a manager. I think as a manager, it's a bit stubborn to stick to your principles that much, but that's a debate for another day. Something he has questioned, though, when it comes to changes, is the rapid changes in football, how things quickly have changed over the last 5-10 years or so, and whether football really needs to look back and improve upon these changes and all. But let's have a look at the full quotes here, guys, of what he said. Full article on thefootballchronicle.com as always. Tottenham Hotspur manager Ange Postecoglou has expressed his concerns about the rapid changes in football, particularly since the introduction of VAR, and has called on English football to better protect the sport as custodians of the game. Of course, England, the home of where football originally was played as a professional sport. The 59-year-old made these comments following Wednesday's 1-0 Carabao Cup semi-final first leg win over Liverpool, secured through Lucas Bergval's 86th minute winner. And I will be doing a review of both of the first legs of the semi-finals that'll be out at the same time as this one if you're watching on Microsoft. If you're on YouTube and this does make it to YouTube, the review for the Carabao Cup games will most likely not be on this. You have to go to our social platforms if you want to see that. The match was notable for the first in-stadium VAR announcement by a match official, with referee Stuart Atwell confirming over the sound system that Dominic Solanke's 77th minute strike had been ruled out for offside. This latest innovation attempts to make football's decision-making more accurate and transparent, but Postecoglou questioned the necessity of such changes. I'm really surprised at how many people in this country are so easily letting the game change so quickly. It's changed more since VAR has come in since I've been involved in the last 50 years, Postecoglou said. We never used to debate offsides, we never used to debate handballs, we never used to debate holding in the box, we never used to debate so many things, and it seems like, did everyone really love the announcement today? Probably not the Spurs fans. The Australian-born manager likened the rapid changes in football to his wife's approach to their children's screen time, emphasising the need to slow things down. Did that give you a real buzz? Seriously, my understanding of it is, this is what people want. That's what I keep getting told. I understand that, and I understand that VAR is going to be there, technology is going to be a part of life, but it's like my wife and our kids. We know technology, but she limits screen time. Why? Slow things down, I think. We've just got to be careful about asking constantly, why do we want to change the game so much? And I know I'm going to be the old bloke in the stands that keeps shouting boo every time, and I'll be the only one. Postecoglou also questioned why more people in England who consider themselves custodians of the game are not speaking up about the rapid changes. Oh, don't worry, we've spoke up about VAR. I don't know if you've missed that, Ange, but we've definitely made our feelings clear, I would say. But I just thought people would be a little bit more protective about the sanctity of the game. I think there's a lot of confusion at the moment. That's my belief, that the game is changing on the basis of technology, and I'm saying, why isn't everyone speaking up about it, especially in this country who, for all intents and purposes, you feel you guys are the custodians of the game, and you've got a song that says it's coming home. This is your game, and yet it takes an Aussie from the other side of the world to be one that's most conservative about changes. Despite his reservations about the changes in the game, Postecoglou admitted that the correct call had been made regarding Bergval's potential second yellow card, even though he sympathised with Liverpool boss Arne Slot's frustration. We've been told consistently in the last few weeks, because I've been screaming about it from the sidelines, as a lot of teams have gotten away with fouls with us, with bookings, because the referee plays advantage, he said. We've been told consistently that if we play advantage, as long as it's not a cynical foul, then the player does not get caution. Today, I can see why Arne would be very disappointed. If that was me, I'd be disappointed as well, but apparently they are the rules. It's such a strange place that it finds itself in football, that it's like, well, I don't like it, but it's the rules, so I have to accept it. That's kind of the attitude when it comes to a lot of decisions, really, in football these days, with VAR and everything. For me, the stadium announcement's not such a bad thing. They did that, was it during the World Cup, the Women's World Cup in 2023? I feel like they did that then, and that was good. I feel that was a good thing to do. But I don't think it makes a massive difference, personally. What would make a difference for me, from a fan point of view, in the stadium itself? Now, I've attended matches with VAR, and I've attended a hell of a lot of games of football before VAR came in. And the way that VAR is done in stadiums in this country is so poor. I don't know if other countries have the information on the big screen and stuff about what's going on. Because the thing is, right, if as a home support, let's just say the away team gets a penalty from VAR, whether it's right, whether it's wrong, whatever, it doesn't matter. When you're in the stadium, and let's be honest, you've had a few beers, you're not going to be agreeing with that decision. And all you're going to see usually on the pitch is the referee go like that, and then go over to the side of the pitch, goes to look at a little telly screen that they've wheeled out on a cart thing like in primary school, and then they'll look at the thing, and then they'll be like, penalty. And you will be absolutely fuming because you have no idea what's gone on there. On TV, it's different. You obviously can see what's going on. But from a fan experience in the ground, it is so behind the times. They need to put it on the big screen. If a stadium has a big screen, which most professional football clubs in England have a big screen, if not all of them probably, some of varying qualities of course, not naming names though, they can definitely pull that information up there. I don't see why not, especially for the Premier League clubs. There's no reason why the Prem clubs can't do it. The Championship clubs as well for that matter, they can definitely do it too. League 1 and League 2 might be a bit hit and miss, but I don't see why they can't do it, because then it at least gives some evidence for why they made the decision. And that'd bring it more in line with rugby, which is something that football still to this day has a lot to learn from when it comes to VAR calls. The stadium announcement thing, whatever, I'm not for that. I'm not against that. I don't really think it makes much of a difference whether you have the referee physically saying it's a penalty or just blowing his whistle and pointing to the spot. You know what it means. If you're a football fan, you know what they're saying. If he raises his hand up like that, it's offside or whatever, right? You know what the hand signals are. You've watched football for long enough. So that doesn't make much of a difference to me. But there's definitely a lot that can be learned. I mean, for example, it was only the other season that clocks in stadiums could run past 45 and 90 minutes in injury time. Before that, I used to get my phone out and put a stopwatch on and have people asking me, George, how many minutes left? How many minutes left? Because we didn't know. And it's the same for the players on the pitch. They'd be asking the referee, how many minutes left? So, English football is dinosaur donkey's years behind where it should be in terms of this technology stuff. So I see where Ange's coming from. I do. I know what he's saying. England should be the custodians of the game. I kind of disagree with that a little. We should be custodians of the game in our country. We should be an example, yeah, but not everybody has to follow that example. Germany has a vastly different fan culture and a vastly different ownership model to England, and the Germans will protect it for all it's worth, and good on them for doing that, because I admire that. But here in England, we've just kind of accepted that these nation states and billion-dollar dodgy sheikhs and oligarchs will be able to own football clubs. It's just a way of life over here. But anyway, I'm digressing massively from the point here. My point is that I feel like we should be the custodians of the game in England. We can set an example for countries. Whether they want to follow that example or not, up to them. Their choice. They do what they want to do. We don't want to go making laws in France and Spain. It's not in our remit. But we should definitely make some changes to VAR. I feel like it's not going to go away. Do I think we should get rid of VAR? That's a discussion for another day. But the fact is, it ain't going anywhere. They've invested millions in this. They are not going to abandon it. Hell no, they're not doing it. There's still some countries that don't have it, of course, and Spain doesn't have goal line technology, I believe, still to this day, believe it or not. I know, La Liga, second biggest league in the world, doesn't have goal line technology. It didn't the other season anyway. So yeah. Anyway, your thoughts in the comments below, guys. Spurs won. They beat Liverpool. Who would have seen that coming? Unbelievable stuff. But yeah, so the fallout from the Liverpool against Manchester United game is continuing. This was an epic encounter at Anfield on Sunday evening in the Premier League. But Virgil van Dijk, the captain of Liverpool Football Club, has said that Manchester United were disrespected ahead of their draw with Liverpool. So let's have a look at what's been said here by the Dutch defender. Full article on thefootballchronicle.com as always. Liverpool captain Virgil van Dijk has expressed his belief that Manchester United were disrespected prior to their 2-2 draw at Anfield on Sunday. The Dutch defender was surprised by the media's assumption that Liverpool would comfortably beat United, who had lost 3 consecutive games before their trip to Merseyside, and indeed they hadn't scored a single goal at Anfield in 6 years. Speaking after the match, Van Dijk said, "Do I feel United were disrespected? Yeah. I heard in the press conference someone asked if we were going to rotate players against United. I mean, that's a bit far. I was shocked. It is one of the biggest games of the season and United would always make it tough. To hear that, I was surprised." I mean, in fairness, there have been a lot of games when, we've got Liverpool going up against Man United, particularly in recent times when Man United have been an absolute laughing stock, really, and they still managed to get 0-0 draws. That's not uncommon. That has happened quite a few times. Not for a while, of course, but it has happened. Despite United's recent struggles, though, Van Dijk acknowledged their quality and challenge that they posed to Liverpool. "We are playing against a good opponent. I think everyone from the outside world forgets that, judging by the sound that had been going around before the game. They have good players. They are obviously in a work in progress like we are, but they make things difficult for us. The match ended in a 2-2 draw, with United's Amad Diallo scoring a late equaliser after Liverpool had come back from a goal down to take a 2-1 lead. Lisandro Martinez had given United a lead before goals from Cody Gakpo and Mohamed Salah put Liverpool ahead. Van Dijk also addressed the recent criticism faced by his teammate Trent Alexander-Arnold, who put in a lacklustre performance against United. The right back has been the subject of transfer speculation, with Real Madrid reportedly approaching Liverpool about signing him in the January transfer window. However, Van Dijk dismissed the notion that the speculation had affected Alexander-Arnold's performance. "No, I am fine with it," the centre-back said. "Trent has his own people around him, his family, and we are there as well. He wants to perform in the best way possible like we all do. That is the main focus. In my opinion, maybe ask him. That is the distraction, the game." Both Van Dijk and Alexander-Arnold, along with Mohamed Salah, are out of contract at the end of the season, adding to the uncertainty surrounding their futures for Liverpool. And indeed, there was a rumour we actually brought you on the Football Daily transfer special that we do every single day here on the footballchronicle.com, basically saying that Van Dijk, apparently his people have gone to Real Madrid effectively offering him to go on a free in the summer, but Real Madrid allegedly have said no to that, which I can definitely see that being the case. I don't think Real Madrid would really want Van Dijk. He's not really someone that fits the profile of a player that they would want to go for. He's a lot older, he's a lot more experienced, of course, which is good in the sense, but he's not going to be this young flash star, a bit like what Trent would be there. But yeah, I mean, there is definitely people disrespecting him, Man United going into this one, but not without reason. I mean, their results recently have been appalling. Take this away, take the win against Man City away as well. They've been terrible. They lost 3 of the last 5 games coming into that, and we only won 1 of the last 5 in fact as well. I think that one was against Man City as well. So there is the bones of, I've said this many times now, there is the bones of a good team there in Man United, but they need more consistency. And Bruno Fernandes, the captain for Man United, basically said that as well. They need to be more consistent. Why can they not perform like this on a weekly basis against the so-called lesser teams, against teams that there isn't this big long-standing rivalry against them? I mean, even against Arsenal, where there is that rivalry, they weren't totally blown out of the water. Was it 1-0, 2-0? Both goals are coming from corners. I know Arsenal's coming from corners. They never do that. But yeah, I think that we're disrespected a little bit, and people were assuming it was going to be a lot easier than it was for Liverpool. And I think if Liverpool played to their 100%, they would have beat Man United. They would have beat them all ends up, but they didn't. They underperformed. They paid the price, and in truth, really, I think they should have lost that game. I think that's a point gained for Liverpool, which they wouldn't have took obviously going into the game, but I feel like it's a point gained. I really do. Just like against Fulham, they easily could have lost that game, but they got a point. But guys, what do you think? Do you think Van Dijk is right about the assessment of Man United? Are they a good team? Are they underrated? Slot said a similar thing in the press conferences as well in the build-up to this game too, saying that the table is lying. The table is not telling the truth when it comes to Man United. They're a much better side than what that would have you believe. I think there's a bit of truth to that, but I don't think they're a good team, really. They showed that on many, many occasions. But yeah, your thoughts in the comments below. So it's fair to say that Southampton Football Club are not having a good season. That is a masterpiece of understatement. They got promoted through the playoffs last season from the EFL Championship, immediately bouncing back from their first Premier League relegation in over 10 years. But the Saints have so far sank rather than swim in the top flight. And in truth, all the newly promoted sides have again struggled. Not to the same extent as the previous season, but the promoted sides from last season's championship do currently make up the 3 relegation spots in the Premier League so far this season. Albeit Ipswich only outside of the survival zone by 1 goal difference from Wolverhampton Wanderers, so it's still very much up in the air there. Leicester City only a couple points out of it either, but they could well turn their form around, and they need to, but they could well easily turn their form around and survive. But for me, Southampton, I said this a long time ago in my Premier League reviews, Southampton are going to be relegated this season. We currently sit on 6 points after 20 games played, 10 points off of safety, and they just got battered at home by Brentford, who hadn't won a single away game at all before that, and they beat them 5-0. Frankly, at times it looked, especially later on in that game, that Southampton had given up. But this has got me thinking, right, and I think I did a similar video last season about my team, Sheffield United, with the dismal season that we were having. And don't worry, I will get onto them, because today I'm talking about the worst Premier League sides in history, and whether in fact Southampton will be the worst side in Premier League history this season. Because, yeah, like I said, they're pretty much doomed to relegation at this point. They've got less than half the points of the team above them in the table, Leicester City. They're done. They're done for. They're getting relegated. But can they survive in sense of a bit of their pride? Can they at least avoid the dismal record when it comes to the Premier League, the worst Premier League side ever? So let's get into this, because there's a few answers when it comes to the worst Premier League side ever, in my opinion. Now, the first one you'll see all the time pretty much is Derby County in 2007-8. Derby were relegated most recently from the Premier League during this time. They've not quite recovered since. They've never made it back to the Prem. They've spent some time in League One as well. They've only just made it back up to the Championship this season. But their final top flight season, as things stand, in 2008 was absolutely horrific. They got 11 points throughout the entire season, including just one home victory, which is the same as Southampton. They've only managed one home victory so far this season. And even that was a bit dodgy against Everton. They only just managed to scrape through with that. They had a goal difference of -69. Not very nice. Which, okay, you know, Southampton might well rival that, because they're on a goal difference of -32. They've only scored 12 goals all season, Southampton, and they've conceded 44. And when you can kind of compare Southampton to Derby County in this regard when it comes to the goals, Derby County conceded 89 goals during that season, which is pretty much double what Southampton have done so far at the halfway point of the season. 20 goals scored as well by Derby, which is a little less than double what Southampton have done so far this season. So right now, Southampton, they could well get the lowest points total in the Premier League history. They've got to get something more out of it. They're currently tied in terms of wins with Derby. So for me, Southampton, in terms of points, they could well become the worst Premier League side ever. But there is one record. I did kind of hint at it in the intro. There is one record that Southampton may break. They may not. I hope they do, personally, because again, this is to do with my team. Last season, Sheffield United in the Premier League were absolutely atrocious. They were trash. They were beyond bad. Not the fact that we got so little points. I mean, 16 points put us on keel with the worst Premier League sides ever. It's more than Derby. It's more than Sunderland when they got relegated back in 2006. But it's level with Huddersfield, who were the third worst. And I believe that Huddersfield side is also one of the very worst too. I think they only got 2 wins all season, and they were both against Wolves. And aside from that, they were completely winless. They were useless. And yeah, Aston Villa in 2016 is another one. But anyway, let's focus on my team, the Blades, because we had absolutely no cutting edge when it came to that. We did score quite a few goals for a relegated side. 35. It's not terrible. It's more than what Southampton are going to get this season. But we conceded a record 104 goals in the top flight. 100. I can't even say that with a straight face. Even going back to the days when there was the score lines in football were way higher back in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s. No team in the top flight of English football history had ever conceded that many goals, even when it used to be a 22-team league, which it was for a little bit in the 90s. Honestly, that record is going to stand. I don't think Southampton are going to break that. They're on 44 conceded, which is actually the same amount as Leicester, believe it or not, in front of them. Just that Leicester scored a lot more goals. I think in terms of the overall goals conceded, I don't think Southampton will break that. There's plenty of time for it. Southampton know all too well about 9-0ers and stuff like that. They've been on the receiving end of a few of those over the years. So I think there's definitely a chance Southampton could do that, but right now they are not on track to do that. In terms of the worst Premier League side ever, in terms of points, they are absolutely on the precipice. They could well beat that record from Derby this season. Do I think they will? Honestly, even Juric, their new manager, does not look at all with it. The new manager bounce is done. So I think there's every chance. And to be honest, I think Southampton will go down as number 2 on the list. I don't think they're going to get 15 points. I don't think they're going to get up to where Sunderland are, the dizzying heights of 15 points. I don't think they're going to get up to the dizzying heights of Sheffield United and Huddersfield Town as well with 16. I think they're going to go down as at least the second worst side in Premier League history. But yeah, Saints fans, if you wanted to click on this video and hear this, is it encouraging news that you might not be the worst, or is it disappointing that you're even being considered to be the worst ever? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. It wouldn't be a week in the football season without a Manchester United legend criticising the ownership. And for once, it's not Gary Neville. It's in fact Paul Scholes, the legendary midfielder, the man that Zidane allegedly said was the best midfielder in the world. I've always been a bit dubious about that quote personally, but I tell you what, he was bloody good back in the day. Anyway, Scholes these days, he occasionally pops up in the media. He's a part owner of Salford City in the EFL League 2 with the other class of 92 legends, and of course pops up on the likes of TNT Sport every now and again for Manchester United coverage. But he's had a word about INEOS, the part owners of Manchester United, the runners of the footballing operations side of Manchester United, and he's criticised them, saying there's not really been a positive impact at the club, and certainly in terms of results, this season in particular, there really hasn't been. But let's have a look at what the Ginger Magician said, which I'm sure he doesn't like being called that, but I'm sure he's been called a lot worse in his career. Full article on thefootballchronicle.com as always, guys. Manchester United legend Paul Scholes has expressed his discontent with the club's ownership group, INEOS, claiming that he cannot identify any positive contributions they have made since acquiring a stake in the club last year. Scholes' comments come amidst United's struggles on the pitch, which have seen them endure one of their worst starts to a Premier League season in history. Surely it's got to be the worst in Premier League history. God, I can't think of one that's been worse than miles off it. INEOS, led by British billionaire Sir Jim Ratcliffe, acquired a 27.7% stake in United in December 2023, increasing their shareholding last month. However, the changes off the pitch have not translated to improved performances on it, with the club struggling under managers Erik ten Hag and now Ruben Amorim. Speaking on the Overlap football fan debate, Scholes said that INEOS have been in charge of United for nearly a year now and everything is still negative. I can't think of something positive they have done for the football club. The former United midfielder also criticised the club's decision to raise matchday ticket prices to £66 per league game, with no concessions for children or pensioners. That is disgusting. I don't care if you're the biggest club in the world, man. That is a disgusting price for you're paying almost £1 a minute, and I know Manchester United have got a massive global audience, but you gotta respect the local fans, and a lot of people right now won't be able to afford that, especially in an expensive city like Manchester. The move prompted protests from the fans, with Scholes adding his voice to the concerns over Ratcliffe's overall impact. Things are getting worse on the football pitch, so couldn't they have just said that they'd do cheaper tickets? Couldn't they just give us something positive? How can you ask Manchester United fans to pay more money with what's on the football pitch? You can't dispute that comment. That is absolutely unquestionable, that. He further emphasised the lack of positive developments at the club, saying, "Where do these owners get the front to put ticket prices up for what we're watching? For the value, we're probably having our worst ever Premier League season, and they've got the cheek to put the prices up. There is nothing positive happening with that football club. The team look bang average. They're not doing anything for the fans." I mean, aside from the City and, well, I mean, they weren't great against City in fairness, but they got the win. Aside from the Liverpool game, they've not been great, really, recently under Amorim anyway. I mean, some people might argue, well, they won the FA Cup last season, and I get that, they did win a trophy, but you can't say overall that, if you went to every Manchester United match, you wouldn't say that overall you would have had a particularly great experience. Yeah, winning the FA Cup, fantastic, amazing. Losing every other week in the Premier League, not so much. Scholes also expressed his disappointment with Ratcliffe, a long-time United fan, for increasing ticket prices despite the team's poor performances. If we've got Sir Jim Ratcliffe compared to all these American owners, who's been a United fan since growing up in the area of Manchester, and he's still hiking prices up, it just shows that they don't care. I mean, yeah, fair enough. Manchester United currently sit in 13th place in the Premier League, following a 2-2 draw with Liverpool at Anfield on Sunday. The club's next fixture is an FA Cup third-round tie against Arsenal on Sunday, as they look to turn their season around and appease the growing discontent among fans and former players alike. Yeah, and I've already done a preview of that as well. I've already recorded it, I should say, and it should be out at the same time as this one here. The morning of the 9th of January, this should be out at Microsoft. This one might make it to YouTube, and it might be out on a later date, but yeah, you can't. He's right. He's absolutely right. From a fan's perspective right now, they don't care about the share price of Manchester United increasing. They don't care about Ratcliffe increasing his stake. They don't care, to an extent, for their actual match day going experience. If we're talking directly on that, they don't care about training facilities, about global partnerships, stuff like that. That doesn't matter to them. What matters to them is how good of an experience they're getting when they go to Old Trafford, and if that at £66, 66 quid. I mean, like recently I went to Sheffield United against West Brom in the Championship, right, just after Boxing Day, and my ticket was over £30. I was ballistic. I couldn't believe it was that much. And I know, on a scale of things, it's probably about right these days. That's what it is, unfortunately. But 66 quid in this day and age in the Premier League, it's becoming the going rate, unfortunately. But, you know, you've got to think about what an increase. I don't know what they were before. Let's say they were 55 quid, 56 quid. They've put the prices up by a tenner, which is probably what it is in fairness. You know, that extra revenue from match day is going to be what? Over the course of a season, throughout the entire stadium of Old Trafford, you're talking, let's be generous, 5 million? That's going to make a more of a profit? You know, it's not a lot. You know, that's like 5% of Anthony. You know, what his transfer fee costs, without even factoring in things like wage demands and stuff like that. So in terms of the club's revenue, yes, it'll make a difference. Yes, these difficult and unpopular decisions that Ratcliffe talks about a lot, it's definitely unpopular, difficult. I'm not so sure it's tough for him, to be honest, but in terms of the actual balance sheet of Manchester United, I know these things can make a difference in things like PSR and all that, because we've seen clubs fall foul of it before. I get that, but still manage your finances a bit better. You know, Man United have got one of the biggest revenues in the world in terms of football. You have an unbelievable global fan base that you have to draw on in terms of commercial revenue and stuff like that. So there's no reason why the average match-going fan has to have a ticket that price. It's indefensible. You cannot justify that at all. It's too much. It's too much. And you know, when you think about Old Trafford, right, what it is to Man United fans in terms of the amount of fans that go there. And let's say, right, I don't know the stats, but let's be generous and say there's 50,000 season ticket holders out of that stadium out of 75,000, right? So you think about the revenue that's generating, the match day revenue of the club, it is tiny compared to the global fan base. The global fan base of Man United, I don't know how much it would be, but it's got to be 100 million, easy. People all over the world support them. I've been to some of the most remote, you know, like jungle nations in Southeast Asia and stuff like that. The Man United fans, the Liverpool fans, they support the England national team because they support English Premier League clubs. You go to any corner of the globe, you'll see kids wearing Man United shirts, Liverpool shirts. It's just a fact of life. So there's no reason why they need to increase the match going costs like that. It's just a really unpopular move. And in terms of the actual benefit it gives the club in terms of matchday revenue, it's not there. And Old Trafford, frankly, is falling apart. You know, and the staff as well. Scholes didn't even mention the staff there. But the staff layoffs at Man United have been disgusting. The amount of people have lost their jobs to save, a couple million a year. These are people's lives being destroyed by this. I could rant about this for a long time, guys, as you can tell. But as you can also tell, I agree with Paul Scholes on this. I really don't see any justification for this. I'm happy to discuss this with you. If you have got a different opinion, let us know in the comments. As always, if you like the video, give it a like. Helps us out a lot. Follow, share, depending on the platform you're on, of course. Comment, all that good stuff. And yeah, we'll see you soon for some hopefully less ranty videos. I've done a number of ranty videos in a row now. Football Chronicle. I don't like going for the boring subjects. You gotta go for the hard hitting ones, you know? That's how we do here. But yeah, see you soon, guys. Have a good one.